Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back, and I also appreciate you sharing the video with the family and friends. Also, I enjoy reading your comments. They are very constructive, they are very encouraging. I thank you so much for that. So for today I have some news to share with you. First the reading part, then some video at the end. Thank you again. Welcome back to Concerned Citizens Media. Here are the news and the Concerned Citizens Media comment for June 25, 2021. First, the breaking news. Genocide, war crimes repeated again on Tigrayans. Ethiopian Air Force struck a market filled with shepherds and animals. Eyewitness told BBC that Ethiopian Air Force military attack helicopter struck the market full of shepherds and animals in the town called Togoga on Tuesday, 15 miles from the region's capital, Mekelle, and killed or injured dozens of shepherds and animals. A 2-year-old child is one of the injured and getting treatment at Mekelle Hospital. The Ethiopian Air Force purposely attacked shepherds and, worst of all, denied or blocked when the medical ambulance attempted to reach the victims of this attack. This is a clear indication of war crimes and genocide deliberately carried out on Tigrayans again. The European Special Envoy, Mr. Joseph Borrell, warned about Ethiopian authorities' intention of eradicating Tigrayans from the airs after he had secured meeting with Ethiopian officials on his previous visits to Ethiopia. Mr. Joseph also urged the world to take action before these Ethiopian officials' intentions are implemented. Ordering airstrike on shepherds is the fulfillment of that intention, and the world must act urgently to hold those who order the airstrike on civilians accountable and do something before they do it again on this vulnerable population in the future. The Eritrean Defense Forces are still in the Tigray region, and they have been accused of carrying out massacre, mass rape, and blocking humanitarian aid. Credit for this one, Yahoo News. So this is a very serious one. Very serious one. The worst of all is denying medical personnel, reaching to the victims to treat them. So it's horrible. Some of the witnesses say that these are TPLF fighters. They don't deserve treatment. That's a different kind of rule of war engagement under this current administration. So it's a violation of international law and humanitarian law, and those people should be accounted for what they did. Press statement from U.S. Department of State on this airstrike. This is a statement from the United States State Department. The United States is gravely concerned by reports of that dozens of civilians were killed or injured during a bombing of a village market in northern Tigray on June 22. We strongly condemn this reprehensible act. There are also credible reports that security forces denied medical personnel access to the victim of this terrible attack. Denying victims urgently needed medical care is heinous and absolutely unacceptable. We urge the Ethiopian authorities to ensure full and unhindered medical access to the victims immediately. We also call for an urgent and independent investigation as well as remedial action to hold those responsible for this attack accountable. The United States again urges an immediate ceasefire in Tigray, unhindered humanitarian access, and protection for civilians. So this is a press release by United States of America concerning the airstrike Ethiopian Air Force conducted on Tigrayan shoppers. Very serious statement. So they call again for ceasefire, access, unhindered access for humanitarian aid, but Ethiopia keep refusing all these, refuse to hold ceasefire, thinking they're gonna win, but the situation is getting out of control, as you might heard from other news. Even TPLF now getting stronger and capturing more Ethiopian soldiers in thousands and even shooting down C-130 gunship. Even though the Ethiopian government it's a technical issue, not shoot down by TPLF. So the situation is very tough, very fluid, and because of Ethiopia's refusal, so many people are gonna die due to this ongoing conflict. The Ethiopian government refused to have ceasefire and have dialogue and settle the domestic issue. So, Dr. John Marsh, death in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, confirmed as natural, not foul play, Ethiopia Federal Police claim. The Federal Police said medical examination conducted by Ethiopian doctors at Paulos Hospital in Addis Ababa confirmed Dr. John's death is a natural cause, but the police didn't reveal what natural incident has taken suddenly Dr. John's life. Dr. John Marsh was sent by Jimmy Carter Center to witness Ethiopia's 6th general election. It's a tragedy. It's one of the tragedy of that election, and also about 26 Oromos also killed, claiming the government claiming they are armed fighters to attack the prime minister. Travesty of justice continuing against Oromo political prisoners. Oromo Liberation Front senior officer Mr. Abdi Raggassa was freed from his imprisonment by judges investigating the accusation against him brought by Abiy Ahmed and his Prosperity Party. However, the Abiy Ahmed undercover operatives snatched him back after he was out of prison and greeting his relatives and friends just outside the prison gate. His whereabouts is unknown to families and friends until this point. The Abiy Ahmed administration repeatedly conducting such illegal criminal conduct on prisoners after they set free by his own justice system. The world should pay serious attention to Ethiopia's such repeated violation of human rights and international laws against peaceful civilians. They must demand an end to Abiy Ahmed and his Prosperity Party's illegal immunity in Ethiopia. So Abdi Raggassa is maybe the second time he was freed, and then after the judges freed him, undercover operatives sent by Abiy Ahmed took him back to prison. Now again repeated. So this situation is keep coming back. So justice is denied, and the law and order is in a very bad shape. And Colonel Gamachu Ayana, the same thing, maybe twice. After he was released by the judge, the Abiy Ahmed security forces snatched him back, took him undisclosed location, so he is still, in jail. He is a free man, according to the judge, but the political wing, Abiy Ahmed, and his undercover operatives, still they are holding him. He is innocent civilian. So there is a very serious law and order failure in Ethiopia under Abiy Ahmed, and as a world, they are acting, but they have to act again strongly. Ethiopia's Prime Minister warning the United States and other Western countries not to revive TPLF. On the interview with Fana Radio, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said that Tigray Liberation Front was very weak and had no control of a single Ethiopia's territory before the Western countries came to its side and supported it with everything under the excuses of fighting hunger in the region, and finally allowed TPLF to take control of Ethiopia in 1991 by deposing the Derg regime. The Prime Minister said that the West could not be able to invent a new tactics. Rather, they are attempting to use the same old strategy to arm and revive TPLF to power again through the same excuses of humanitarian aid. He said that this Western old strategy does not work now, and it will not work in the future. The Prime Minister also said, "We do not allow it to happen at this time." Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's tones on this Fana Radio interview indicate the desire for tension and confrontation with the Western nation instead of promoting peaceful diplomacy or resolving the issues they raised about the crisis in the Tigray region and other challenges Ethiopia is facing under Abiy Ahmed leadership. Last month, Ethiopia accused humanitarian aid agencies arming TPLF fighters by smuggling weapons through humanitarian aids. Ethiopia's current stand against the Western nations and its accusation of the West arming TPLF fighters would seriously undermine the badly needed humanitarian aid for the Tigrayans who have been subjected to this situation due to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the so-called law and order operation in the Tigray region. Declaring ceasefire, demanding for immediate Eritrean forces withdrawal, and having dialogues and reconciliation with all stakeholders would have been more productive than adopting the strategy of trashing the Western nation and attempting to galvanize Ethiopians to unnecessary tension and confrontation with them. So, the Abiy Ahmed said TPLF was supported in the past and able to control Ethiopia in 1991 because the Western, helped him financially and everything. And he said they are attempting to do at this time. He said it will not work. He said it will not work, and it doesn't work now. So he is accusing the Western, like providing the weapons and other things. But this issue is never been confirmed by global independent medias or other countries. That's Ethiopia's side claiming. It could be, an intention on Ethiopia's side to deny humanitarian aid for Tigrayans by using such excuses. So I think that's a bad strategy. It's better to hold, ceasefire, to end the war, have a dialogue, discussion with all stakeholders, as Ethiopians and other global communities suggested, to fix Ethiopia's issue. Election will not solve Ethiopia's issue. It's a fake election where the majority didn't participate. I know Abiy Ahmed is eager, very eager to have recognition. But how are you going to get recognition when the half of the country didn't take part in the election? And the Oromos don't have representatives in this election. So how are you going to claim? I know you're going to claim, but that election cannot solve Ethiopia's problem. It's better to change strategy for the sake of Ethiopians. Okay, one news from the United States. 153 hospital workers quit or were fired because they refused to get COVID-19 vaccines. More than 150 employees at Houston Hospital System who refused to get a COVID-19 vaccines have been fired or resigned after a judge dismissed an employee lawsuit over the vaccine requirement. A spokesperson for Houston Methodist Hospital System said 153 employees either resigned in the 2-week suspension period or were terminated on Tuesday, June 22, 2021. The U.S. District Judge Lynn Hughes of Houston said that if the employees of the hospital system didn't like the requirement, they could go work elsewhere. That's the judge's decision. Jennifer Bridge, a plaintiff representing the Methodist Hospital Medical System employees, claimed that the vaccines are experimental and dangerous. That's a very tough claim. She has also linked the vaccination requirement to the Nazis' forced medical experimentation on the concentration camp captives during the Holocaust. This is very tough claim. Very tough claim. Here goes as concerned citizens media comment on this one. It is disappointing to see frontline healthcare workers joining the Americans hesitant about taking this life-saving vaccination or feeding to the conspiracy or anti-vaccine groups. Freedom of choice should not be granted when that freedom could impact others' life in case of these Houston Methodist healthcare system workers. I agree with the judge's decision on this matter. That's concerned citizens media comment. So these are frontline workers. They are our heroes, and they should be a model for others. COVID-19 vaccines are safe and determined by very senior research scientists. So they have seen they are effective. So why refuse? Why they claim freedom of choice? I don't see that. And those people who have no education, they can say something like this, but those are educated people. They are healthcare workers. They are frontline, our heroes. You know, they're supposed to be a model for for this vaccination, so we can handle uh, uh, this COVID-19 in a much better sense. So I disagree with them. I agree with the judge's decision. You don't wanna, you don't wanna have the requirement. You can go and work for others because healthcare workers deal with patients, and the well-being of the patient also, depend on the well-being of those healthcare workers. So there is connection right there. I know it's personal freedom, but that personal freedom impact others. That's all from the reading part. Thank you, and let's share some videos and conclude today's presentation. Oh, okay. This is just breaking in. The police officer, former Minneapolis police officer, sentenced for for the killing of George Floyd for 22.5 years in prison. This is just breaking in. There you go. Let's see. Okay. So this is TPLF fighters celebrating some kind of victory.
To bring you Wicker.
Russian forces have fired warning shots at a Royal Navy destroyer after it allegedly entered the country's territorial waters in the Black Sea, the Russian Defense Ministry has said. A border patrol boat fired shots at HMS Defender, and a warplane dropped 4 bombs close to the ship, according to a statement quoted by a Russian news agency. Our correspondent Jonah Fisher is in Kiev for us. Jonah, this news is just in the last hour. Tell us more about what we know.
Yeah, we're getting most of our information at the moment from this Russian Defense Ministry statement. It says that about 3 hours ago, warnings were given to the British ship, the HMS Destroyer. Those warnings were ignored. It was supposedly entering into Russian territorial waters. Warning shots were apparently fired from a Russian border patrol ship. And then about 10 minutes after that, a Russian fighter jet, a Sukhoi 24, carried out what they're calling a warning bombing along the route that this HMS Destroyer was going along. 4 bombs were apparently dropped, and then the British ship changed direction. Now, what should be pointed out here is exactly where this took place. Because the Russians consider Crimea as a part of their country. Great Britain, the international community, does not. They consider it to have been illegally annexed by Russia and to, under international law, to be part of Ukraine. So what appears that could have happened here is that the British ship, the HMS Destroyer, was passing close to Crimea, seeking to make the point, perhaps, that this is international waters, it doesn't belong to Russia, and the Russians have responded in this very robust way towards that movement.
Jonah, thank you. Jonah Fisher reporting there from Kiev. Now, dozens of people have reportedly been killed after an airstrike hit a busy market in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. Health workers in the village of Tugoga have told the Associated Press soldiers blocked medical teams from reaching the scene. This attack also happened during some of the most intense fighting since that conflict began in November. Earlier I spoke to Martin Clout. He's a visiting senior fellow in the Department of War Studies at King's College London. And he says the evidence suggests the Ethiopian Air Force is responsible.
There's frankly nobody else who could have done it. The Eritrean Air Force is not operating in the area. The Tigrayans have no Air Force. Who else could have done it? It must have been an Ethiopian jet. I don't think that will come as any surprise to anyone. Basically, the Tigrayans have been on the defensive ever since the war began in November. They were first driven out of Western Tigray, then they were driven out of their capital, Mekelle, and now they have begun to take back some of the area that they lost. They are fighting against both Ethiopian and Eritrean forces. Eritrean forces, you may recall, have been coming in from the north. The Ethiopians asked them to leave, but they have so far not done so. And a string of towns have now been briefly retaken by the Tigrayans in a very major offensive. They say they have captured up to 10,000 Ethiopian troops. Now, of course, that's not verified, but that's the kind of claim that they are making, that they are now on the offensive. They've got they say the Ethiopians on the run in some areas, but this is not a war that's going to be over in 5 minutes. The last war in this area lasted 17 years. This one's been going on 7 or 8 months.
Well, let's now speak to Hiba Morgan. She joins us from Gadaref in Sudan, near the border with Ethiopia. Hiba, the UN has already declared famine conditions in parts of Tigray, and I know you've spoken to people who've been forced to flee there. What are you hearing from them about what the situation on the ground is like?
Well, first of all, let's look at the location where this airstrike happened. It happened in northwest of Mekelle. That's a place where people will not be able to escape from to come here to refugee camps in Sudan's Gadaref and Kassala states, should they want to. That's because of the location and because of the fact that Ethiopian troops are blocking the borders. So the number of refugees who are able to cross here to seek safety as well as humanitarian assistance is getting lesser and lesser as time goes by. And there are a lot of people who are displaced already by the conflict in Tigray. More than 2 million people have already been displaced, and the UN is warning that more than 350,000 are facing famine. So it is expected that the airstrike that happened today, as well as further airstrikes which are expected by the Tigrayan rebel forces, who say that they're expecting further attacks, and that they're also trying to launch their own offensive to take some of the areas back. That's expected to result in more displacement and more people in need of aid. People in the area are reporting that access to health care and to medical assistance from the airstrike is being blocked. That is a report that refugees here say that is actually true, because they say that they can believe that, because they say that they've seen Eritrean forces and Ethiopian forces blocking aid. So it looks like the situation in Tigray is going to get worse and worse as the days go by.
Hiba Morgan there on the ground for us in Gadaref in Sudan, near the Ethiopian border. Thank you so much, Hiba.
Okay, that is the airstrike I talked about on video, and I'm gonna conclude today's presentation. If somebody's advising this Prime Minister, I think it is better to change the course. As you heard on the report, TPLF fighters are getting strength from time to time, even capturing like what he say, about 10,000 Ethiopian soldiers, showing these captured soldiers on social media, shooting down C-130 and destroying huge military Ethiopian equipments, gaining more ground, more cities. The video is right there. From time to time they are uploading videos showing the celebration, when they are welcoming into the cities. That's a challenge. How you gonna stop this when the people need these fighters, when the people are celebrating their work? That's a challenge for Abiy Ahmed. So his strategy of using force to win against TPLF will not work, because TPLF has huge background support from Tigrayans at home and around the world. That's a challenge. That's why the United States and others call on him to call for ceasefire, because it's gonna continue, the killing gonna continue, and this is like Ethiopians killing each other, continue killing each other. So that's meaningless and that's nonsense, and he should call for ceasefire and start dialogue to settle domestic issue. It's not global issue. It's not about the United States or the other Western countries telling you what to eat for breakfast, what to eat for lunch, or feeling jealous about the prosperity happening in Ethiopia. No, these are fake government fabricated propagandas. So it will not work. So Abiy, be smart, change the course before TPLF getting ground and coming to you. If you insist on this thing, if you keep claiming the West is arming TPLF through humanitarian aid, that will not help you out to come out from these challenges. I think I like Haile Mariam Desalegn. He tested the water for like 5 years, 4 years, then it didn't work. He resigned. He gave it up. This guy should do that. If something doesn't work, just give it up. Give to the Ethiopians. Let them decide who will be their leader in the future. So that's a smart way. Instead of continuing the bloodshed in that country, continue abusing the law and the order, the one you try to install in Tigray, you are abusing in other areas on Oromos. There is no law and order, and you are claiming to install the law and order in Tigray region. That's a false. That's a false. You are not installing law and order. You are engaging in war to keep your position, Prosperity Party, in power for 10, 20 years. Who knows? But that will not work. You need to come to the table, talk to Ethiopians about their future, let them resolve about themselves and about the country's future. So I appreciate concerned citizens media listeners. Thank you, and continue writing your comments, sharing, liking my video, so we can grow together. We can be the voice for the voiceless. Thank you again. I will be back with other news and comments. So long, everyone. Be safe.